Hello there. Welcome to A Certain Point of View. I am Michael, coming from my bedroom this time. This is kind of weird. This is different than usual, but what's up, everybody? I am letting in now Drew Miller. What's up, Drew?
Hey, how's I know how you're doing. How's everybody else doing? I can't talk tonight. This is gonna be fun.
This is going to be fun. And we got Drew Tavares as well. What's up, Drew?
What up? I'm finally on
So-
cam. Here we
Yeah,
go.
dude, we've had Drew on a couple of times before, and every time that he's been on, he has been he's had the blank avatar up on the screen, and we could just hear him. So this is actually his face. What did we have you on for, Drew? I know we did Visions, but what else did you come on for? Boba Fett, or
I think it was Boba Fett. Yeah.
were you also on for our animated Clone Wars episode, or was that someone else? Was that just me and this Drew?
I don't think so. I may have been on one more time, but I don't remember what it was for.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember. I felt like maybe you did a Boba Fett episode, but either way, good to have you on again, man.
For sure.
And Jessica is also joining us. She just needed a few minutes because her dog spilled stuff on her computer. so we're gonna let her in when she's ready. But guys, so sorry about the delay. Thank you all. We have in the live chat right now, I see Bricks. What's up, Bricks? And I see Scarif Scuttlebutt Podcast. What's
What
up,
a
Scarif?
name.
Yeah, I know it's so great. They're a great follow on Twitter. If you're not following them, go follow them. But thank you all so much for being patient with. We had to push the time back a half hour. My house has been pretty crazy. You know, we scheduled this live stream about at least probably over a week ago. We scheduled this, and everything just so happened to fall on the week where my kitchen is being renovated. And so this week we have demoed our kitchen. We had the new cabinets installed. We're having countertops done this week too. And, or at least ordered this week. And so this all is going on. But my father-in-law is here right now putting our sink back in. And there's just basically, when that was happening, we discovered that the person that was doing the cabinets for us forgot to, or just didn't. I don't know. They kind of screwed us a little bit. They did not drill a hole. They did not run the power into the back of the where the sink is going to go. And so we had to run that back there, and it took a long time because we couldn't move the counter. We had to kind of like, it was just crazy. So anyway, long story short, we are here now and able to go, but I apologize for the delay. But it's just been crazy. But thank you guys for being flexible. So guys, tonight, pretty simple. We're gonna talk about, it is International Women's Day. So we did want to talk a little bit about Drew. Tavares, I was going to send you a little bit of a list. It's not a big list, but I was going to send you these. I'm sorry, man. Totally forgot. But we're just put you on the spot a little bit. But we're going to talk about just our favorite women in Star Wars. Like, you know, we got we're not going to do this without Jessica. We can't do that. That'd be stupid. But so we'll wait till Jessica gets here to do that. But we're going to talk about our favorite women in Star Wars character wise, and do that, honor them for a minute. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Mandalorian. We're going to talk about the Bad Batch, because guys, we are living in a great time to be a Star Wars fan. I know the movie side of things is a little weird right now, and I know it's like they don't have any direction. I don't know what's going on, but we are getting incredible content ever since Andor. We have and you know, I personally really enjoyed the Book of Boba Fett. I think both of you guys did too, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Book of Boba Fett was fun. I had a lot of issues with it. I meant Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You greatly enjoyed it. I heard you
I meant Obi-Wan Kenobi. I have a lot of issues with Boba Fett, even though it is fun. But Obi-Wan Kenobi is what I meant. So, but yeah, so really enjoyed that. But Andor, Tales of the Jedi, and then now we're having the Bad Batch is on fire, and so is The Mandalorian. And so it's just a good time to be a Star Wars fan. Jess still is not here, so let's just I'll tell you what. Why don't we just talk about, out of the things that we've gotten over the past several months in Star Wars, Andor, Tales of the Jedi, The Bad Batch, The Mandalorian. Out of all those, let's start with Drew Tavares. What is your what's your favorite thing that we've gotten so far, and like what is making you happy when you watch Star Wars right now? What is revving your Star Wars engine, if you will?
Yeah. Definitely Andor. Like, I can't sing enough praises about that show. Like, it is perfect. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite thing that we've gotten. But yeah, like especially after like Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett, even though I enjoyed both of those shows, they do have their problems, and I have a big problem with the volume technology. It was a nice change of pace going to like this grounded, gritty, just scummy side of the Star Wars universe with real locations, practical sets, and everything. I just eat that stuff up. And then in terms of like right now, I'm glad to be back with Mando, honestly. Like, I think the 2-year break was really needed. I think it's showing in like the quality of these 2 episodes, and it's just made me realize how much I actually missed the show. Because like after Andor came out, I'm like, I just want shows just like Andor. But now I'm like, I'm fine with stuff like Mando too.
Dude, I totally get it, because like your initial tendency is to think, like I've seen several people talk about that, and I get it. It kind of annoys me a little bit, because I'm always the kind of person that's like, Star Wars is so many things. Right now, I am enjoying so much these like the goofier, fun side of things, mission of the week things we're getting with the Bad Batch and Mando. But like, I'm not gonna lie, when Andor was on, I was also thinking, oh my gosh, if Star Wars was always this good,
Yeah.
But but for me, I think between Andor is my favorite thing we've gotten on Disney Plus. I think Andor is the best thing to come out since The Last Jedi, Star Wars wise. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't know which one. I have to be totally honest. I don't know which one I like better right now. The Bad Batch. The last 2 weeks I've watched The Mandalorian first, because it's back. It's new. It's back. It's 2 episodes in. And I'm like, got to watch Mando first. Let's do it. And then I've stayed up. I've watched both that and then The Bad Batch. And both weeks, even though I think The Mandalorian has been like, last week was super good. This week was like insanely good. And I think both weeks I've actually thought, after the episodes were over, that was better than Mando with the Bad Batch. So I don't know. I'm really on a Bad Batch high right now. I'm not going to lie, even though the episode was really kind of depressing this week. So, I mean, I cannot wait to get into that. But Drew, how about you?
Which one? No, I'm kidding.
Well, other Drew already went, so.
All right, so you said what's revving your Star Wars engine? So Darth Revan is always the answer. You know I'm always going to reach over to my shelf and grab something. You know I'm going to.
Dude, that was good. I can't lie.
I've been waiting to do that one. So obviously,
hey, really quick. Hey, Drew, hold on one second. I'm going to let Jess in.
Yeah, bring Jess in.
Hey, Jess. You good? Oh, well, you're muted, so.
Of course I'm muted.
There we go. We got you. We got you. You're back. How are you doing?
Sorry, I had some slight technical difficulties and that involved a dog spilling a drink on a computer, so we'll be okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jess. Whenever, just for sound, when you're talking, would you mind holding your mic still? It's making some noises. Just hold the other side.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think that'll be better. Yeah, that's much better.
I had my mic and everything set up and ready, and
That's how it goes. I'm in my not why did I think my parents' bedroom? I'm so frazzled. I'm so frazzled. It has been an absolute crazy town over here. I'm in our bedroom right now, and I've never done a podcast from our bedroom before. So this is hilarious. So okay, so Drew was about to tell us what's been exciting him the most out of the several shows that we've gotten over the past year or so. So take it away.
So everybody that's talked to me knows, and behind me, once again, thank you, Jess. Massive Book of Boba Fett fan. Some of the things that like I predicted would go on. I'm a big Boba Fett thing. I've got 2 Boba Fett bobbleheads up here, Slave One, Boba Fett Starship, whatever you want to call it, Lego set, and like 2 Boba Lego figures right here, and then the 2 posters. So Boba, awesome, love it.
And you have the Book of Boba Fett source material in your room, right?
Oh, I cannot reach it, but yes, I have the source material, Tales from Jabba's Palace, right there behind the Dark Trooper and Wrecker bobbleheads. That's where it's nestled safely right now. Those 2 are guarding it. So loved Book of Boba Fett. Andor was very good. It wasn't perfect for me, but man, was it so good. It was a nice little refreshing change of pace because I like the weird and like over the top science fiction stuff in Star Wars, but man, was it good to return back to what Rogue One gave us. I know we said a lot, the boots on the ground, but really like personable. Like you more see how Star Wars, the universe, how people live in a day-to-day basis. And I really, really enjoyed Andor. I think we talked about it a good bit last time. Massive Bad Batch fan. Probably one of the biggest I know. Except Michael lately, we've really been getting at each other a little bit on what's going on with the Bad Batch. He primed me for how much I was going to enjoy last week's episode, and let me tell you, I was not disappointed one bit.
Bro, they've been making this show just for you this year with the Zillow stuff and whatever that one episode was with that what was that
on Kashyyyk?
No, that was one of my favorite episodes, by the way.
That was a good one.
The episode with the giant dinosaur weird alien thing. The one where they went, it's like the Indiana Jones episode at the beginning.
Oh yeah, it was a Zepho Guardian from Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, Bad Batch has been perfect for me every week, and every week has been like a little individual character study. Like we're going to give special care to this character, we're going to focus on this one, and we're going to tell this story. And they've been all over the place, but in a really focused way, and I really enjoy that. But I gotta say, Mando being back is incredible. I've missed that show so much, and I love that they're not just pushing it out and pumping it out, because it's not lacking in quality. If they would say, we just need a year, new season every year. Instead, they said, here's Book of Boba Fett. And it was in between seasons 2 and 3 of Mando. I really enjoyed that. It being broken apart by other stuff. And that's been really, really great. I've lost my train of thought. But as far as upcoming stuff, we have the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, Jedi Survivor, coming out next month. And I think either later this week or next week, there's a novel coming out that's like a tie-in that a lot of people are excited to read. I don't know if I'm going to or not, but a lot of other people are excited about it, so that's good. Yeah. And I have to say, before we start anything tonight, Bo-Katan, with or without the Darksaber, would demolish Den in a fight, and I'm talking like 7 times out of 10. Those troll monsters nearly killed Den, and she was just playing with them. I mean,
yeah. Well, I have thoughts. I have thoughts on that. Actually, I think the way that they did this show, everything about this episode was freaking incredible. I have a ton of thoughts, but Jess, what about you? What has been, out of the things we've gotten lately, what has been your favorite? What Star Wars thing has made you just either the most happy or the most invested? It's so hard. It does the mirror thing, right? It's like, oh wait,
yeah. I'm gonna go with an unpopular opinion, and I'm gonna say Obi-Wan.
Hey, I loved Obi-Wan.
Big fan.
I have loved everything that's come out. I did have some issues that we've talked about with like Book of Boba Fett, just kind of pacing and kind of how they set up the show. And just like the overall, I don't know, title with how they did it, that sort of thing. But I was so happy with it. But I don't know, there's just something about bringing Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen back that just was all the Star Wars things for me. I just absolutely loved them being able to have a reunion, just the whole idea of, after all of the hate with the prequels and everything, for them just to get so much love from the fandom mostly. But a lot more than they did in the past, for sure, and just seeing them back and them happy and them just going right back into those characters and just Star Wars just does something obviously for my inner child. And so for that, Obi-Wan just hit everything that me as a child and my inner child would love. It was wonderful. So I'm not saying it was the best show as far as, if you're looking at it through a critic's eyes of all the different aspects of it, but for the feels and just Star Wars in general, it has been a top thing for me for sure. So
I love it. I'm the same way. I definitely, when you look at it from more like a critic, it's definitely got some problems, especially I think COVID played a bigger role in it than what a lot of people give it credit for with the production stuff. The volume on that show looks so bad.
Yeah.
It's really noticeable. It's like, okay, they're supposed to be in a cave, but I can really see them in a room right now with screens all around them. Like I can tell. And it is crazy to see that. And then even the Book of Boba Fett had some similar issues. And then watching what's going on The Mandalorian, and they're using the volume still. Like it is just crazy that that's made with the same technology. These guys are just masters at it.
And it's the time aspect of it too. It's you can tell that they've taken their time with The Mandalorian. And I mean, I think they took their time. I really do, developing Obi-Wan. I think COVID did play a big factor into it, like you were saying. And I also think for, just it fitting in the time frame that it couldn't be, I don't know. I think you've got to be able to watch the prequels and then watch that and it not seem so shot so differently. Does that make sense? Like there's a part of me that's like, if you're going to watch Star Wars all the way through, it's got to have some continuality with it a little bit, which I know it's a little hard because like the older, I don't know, but I think they've done a good job adding, more of the puppets and different things like that into The Mandalorian to keep that also, a continuation of kind of how the originals were. And so I think there's a little bit of that too, considering the prequels were so much CGI. I don't know. I think there is an argument there for that too, a little bit.
But like things like, I mean, the volume is a big part, but like things like that scene with Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor could have been like, it was amazing. But I mean, if they could have just de-aged them just a little bit, like, I mean, like, there are several things where it's like they went as fast as they could and cut corners wherever they thought they could, and I felt that. But when I watch the story, when I just am absorbing the story and turn off that, I feel all the emotions, all the things. It really did connect with me. But like story problems, all that, I did have those. But anyway, we can't spend too much time talking about that.
Yeah, and I think just one more thing with it. I think one of the things too is you could kind of tell it wasn't a priority for Disney. You know what I mean? It was more of a passion project, I think, for Ewan McGregor, and I think that showed a little bit.
Maybe I don't know. I think Disney wants an Obi-Wan show to do really well. I think it was a priority for them. I just think they kind of botched a few things with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, we could talk about that. We can talk about that all day. But let's do this really quick.
But like Jack said, I am really excited about the Ahsoka series, obviously.
There we go. Yeah.
And you guys know that I'm probably going to be a little hypercritical for, I'm never hypercritical, but that show, that's going to be the show that I'm going to be like,
excuse me, the Leku are 2 inches too short. Come on. That's what Jess is super critical of. Like the stuff like that.
It's the aesthetic, okay? Come on.
Yeah.
Come
on. Okay, so let's do this really quick. I don't want to rush too much through it, but we do need to move at a quicker pace through this section. But it is International Women's Day, and Jess had the idea of why don't we tonight just celebrate some of our favorite women in Star Wars tonight. So let's just go around and just name a Star Wars woman that we love, or a few of them, but just let's not take too much time. We gotta move to our big show discussions. So, oh, and look who's here. We got Ash. Ash is here. Hey, Ash.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so Jess, let's start with you. Who's someone you want to just say either is your favorite or someone you're just really connecting with right now, a woman in Star Wars that you want to just kind of honor right now? Stop muting yourself.
Can I not go first?
Okay. Let's go, Drew Miller.
Queen Julia, Jar Jar's girlfriend from Clone Wars season 6.
Stop it.
Okay.
That is
not my real answer.
Nope, that's your real answer. Other Drew? I'm just kidding.
Duck face is not allowed.
Nightmare fuel. I skipped that arc last time, and I skipped it to not force my wife to endure that. So I'm gonna go a couple of more or less side characters because we love all the main characters. We're gonna talk about Ahsoka. We're gonna talk about Leia, Padme. Actually, speaking of Padme, yesterday was mine and my wife's 8-year anniversary. And I would be remiss not to mention that she was incredible enough to have a piece of music from Star Wars in our wedding ceremony, Across the Stars from episode 2, Anakin and Padme's love theme from the movie. So I can't resist bringing that up. It was really beautiful. It was when the bridesmaids and like family was being seated. But the two, I'm going to kind of side characters kind of off the sidewall here. Omega. I know she's more of a she's a young woman, but really up and coming in her character development, and she's fierce, very smart, funny, and she has no trouble fitting in with the rough and tough dudes of Clone Force 99. She kind of reminds me of my niece a little bit, and she's great. But Fennec Shand, she has been a character that I've been all about ever since her introduction. So you've had her in The Bad Batch season 1, Mando, and Book of Boba Fett, and I'm dying here. Give me a second. Sorry about that. Had a hiccup. She's been a really nice addition to Star Wars, and the fact that she was the voice of Mulan and she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She is just, a queen of the nerds. So those are two little side characters that I'd like to really give a good you're awesome for. And also, since I mentioned her already, Bo-Katan Kryze is incredible, and she could take Den in a fight 9 times out of 10. I've upped my number.
I love that. Okay, Drew Tavares, what about you?
So this might be recency bias, but gonna have to go with Senator Chi-Chi in Bad Batch and also Clone Wars. But
I love it. Yes.
And I know we'll get into Bad Batch later, but those 2 episodes were just perfection, like top tier they're probably going to be some of my favorite like Clone Wars episodes in the future, honestly. But yeah, I loved how compassionate she was for the clone troopers and like really looking out for them. And she didn't like have like an agenda for it, you know, she really like cared about them. It wasn't like a power move or anything like that. But speaking of, she is very powerful, and the way that she just got the entire like crowd of people in the Senate like meeting or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they call it in the Star Wars universe. But the way that she like won everyone over with like all of this like evidence and everything was just super awesome. And I found her character like really fascinating. Just a great character arc for her. And then another character, I'm also gonna have to just mention Bo-Katan, especially with this new Mando episode. Just man, she is just an absolute badass. Yes, sir. Yeah, I obviously, like other Drew said, absolutely she would wreck Din in a fight. And then also, just how tragic her character is too. It's really, really fascinating. And the fact that she even had the guts to go back to Mandalore after all that she's been through. Pretty cool stuff.
Dude, how good has Katie Sackhoff been this season?
Dude.
Already, like, I mean, she was good last season when she was introduced, and it was really awesome to see her. It's another level, dude. She is like, she's putting in, she's really performing like her butt off this season. It's amazing. Oh, yeah. Jess, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Rey.
We got one.
I just feel like she's getting a lot of hate lately, and I don't like it.
Lately?
Well,
you mean for the past 7-8 years?
Well, yes, I know, but I feel like it's coming up again, and I'm just so over it.
It's just a cycle, Jess. Every few months.
Can't even.
I know. Listen, I can't. I just think her character is wonderful, and I feel like, I don't know, there's all times in our lives I feel like we always like, you'll know, I love Ahsoka and I love Leia and I love Padme. They're like my favorites. What? But I never have been like a super just like major Rey fan. Like I've liked her, but she's never been in like my top like characters. But I think, I don't know, there's just some like just internal things I think that I've been like working on and going through, and I've kind of seen myself a little bit more in Rey, and like, you know, how sometimes you can be vulnerable in trying to figure things out and really, you know, look into
sorry,
who you are, you know, truly as a person, and, you know, being able to truly face those things head on, the good and the bad, and then come out a better person. I think that's really speaks a lot to her character as who she is, and to take, you know, everything in her past and who she grew up, how she grew up, and then finding out who she was and everything, and completely saying, no, this is who I am, and claiming her own identity and her own purpose, and not what people told her about herself or who she should be. I think is really powerful, and I think it's a great story, and it's some great characteristics that I think everybody can learn from, you know. And so I just think it's just awesome too. I think there's a lot of I'm trying to think of the term. What's the term when you
Mary Sue?
No, not that one. I almost had it. It's when you have all of the skills and the knowledge and all of the things, but you like hold yourself back because you don't think that you fit within that like
insecure.
No, there's a specific word for it. It's almost like gatekeeping yourself in a way. Like you, I'll come up with it later. But anyway, she's a great example of that, to where like she's super powerful and she's just very, I don't know, very gifted in the Force. But she sees like her idols and all these people like Luke, and she's like, I don't know, almost like she can't live up to that, but then she finally finds herself in who she is, and also with the help of others, and realizes she does fit into that. And I just think that's, I don't know, that's really inspiring. So let's go Rey Skywalker. All you haters can take it.
Awesome.
Not my
awesome
Rey. No, Jess,
I've got
I'm
a
with
second
you 100%.
one if I need to get her.
I'm with you 100%. And, you know, I keep saying it, one day, if we start doing these more often again, we need to have a Rey deep dive episode and talk about, and I know Drew Tavares has told me, dude, when you do that, I got to come on.
Yes,
so yeah.
And I'm going to figure out what that word is. My brain had a little brain fart.
You're good. Trust me.
I don't know what it is, but it sounds like me half the time.
That word.
So for me, I have a few.
Imposter syndrome. It came to
there
me.
You go. You did it. You did it.
I feel like you see a lot of that with her. You know, we all struggle with that, you know.
I love that, Jess. Yeah, absolutely.
So.
I totally agree. I love Rey. I love that. So I have a few that I'm going to go through really quickly. First of all, I just want to give a little shout out, because I did not like this character at first when she first came into The Mandalorian. But over the past few seasons, she's really won me over, and that's Peli Motto. I love Peli Motto. I did not like her in the first episode. Who looks just like my
aunt. It's freaking weird.
But I felt like I think it's more of an indictment on the first episode that she was in, because I think that is easily the only bad episode The Mandalorian has ever done, is episode 5 from season 1. I will always say that. I've tried to like it. It's just not good. I think there's so many things that I don't like about it. And she was one of them when she first came along. But I think the whole episode tainted her performance and how funny she is, and how charming she is. But when she came back a couple of times in season 2. Her episode with Mando in the Book of Boba Fett, in the Book of Boba Fett, and the Return of the Mandalorian, incredible. When they built the N1 starfighter, I loved it so much. And then her, even just in this episode, her little appearance just made me so happy. So plus she's given R5 a second life. I mean, great, right? So okay, my next one is Mon Mothma. One of my absolute favorite parts of Andor was Mon Mothma, and Genevieve O'Reilly, her performance as Mon Mothma. This character was always super cool to me in the original trilogy and the prequels. We saw a little tiny bit of her, but we never saw her really in action until the animated series and Rogue One. But we didn't see this level of Mon Mothma, and just the power that she has, her courage, and they really do a great job of juxtapositioning. I think that's a word. We have Luthen and Mon Mothma both on the same side, but doing things in such different ways. Luthen is moving in the shadows, doing things that are, let's just say in the gray area, or just, not great, to get this thing going. And, but she is doing things while still being in the public eye, and to see her deal with like the fact the fact that she could lose everything because of it, and she couldn't even be, while she was at her own home, she didn't feel safe because her husband is the worst and her daughter hates her and all this stuff. Like, I just think
husband was a fool,
dude. Oh my gosh, he is the absolute worst, possibly the worst husband in Star Wars. I really think so. And so just her character was fantastic, and I love that we got to go deeper with her. My last one is Yaddle, or Yaddle, however we want to say it. We got to see her in Tales of the Jedi, and she was really instrumental in the Dooku storyline in that. And so seeing her understand and actually agree with things like Dooku was saying, and agree with certain things that the Jedi were wrong about this or that, and things need to change about the Jedi, but this is not the way. And seeing her try to her last breath to keep Dooku from turning, that moment where the lifts or whatever close down on her, and then she like opens them back up with the Force, and the Force music plays. Incredible. Yaddle's amazing, and to see her go out like that was heartbreaking, but it was beautifully told story. And so yeah, that's my 3. I'm pretty proud of that list, actually.
It's a solid list.
Marva. We can't forget Marva.
Oh, yes. Great choice. I love that. I mean, and Bix, we could just talk about a lot of women from Andor. There are so many incredible women in just that show. I love Bix. I love Marva. I love Mon Mothma. I love
and my favorite bad girl, Ventress.
Oh yes, Ventress. But also, what's the girl's name? The ISB officer.
Ooh.
Scary lady.
Scary lady. Yeah. The guy that Deidre. Incredible lady. Character. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's do this, you guys. That was fun. Let's get into some Mando, shall we? We are 2 episodes into The Mandalorian. As of today, we got episode 2 last night. Let's start with Drew Tavares. I want to hear your thoughts on the season as a whole, and specifically since it was last night or today, depending on who you are. I know me and Drew Tavares both stay up late for this stuff because we're weird. But tell me your thoughts on this season so far, and then the episode, specifically last night's episode. What were your thoughts on it? Just big picture thoughts. Big picture first.
I'm really loving the season so far. And like I was talking about before, like with Andor, I really want more of that. And so I was still excited for Mando, but honestly, like with the marketing and everything, I wasn't like as excited as I normally would be, I guess you could say. But the moment that the first episode came out, like I was back in, especially with how awesome the opening was. But yeah, so far I'm really loving it, and I know there's like a lot of people who didn't really like the first episode as much, but I honestly loved it, and I think it's like one of the just dropped something. I think it's one of the best Mando episodes, honestly. And yeah, so overall I'm really liking what we're seeing, and I really like the little things here and there that they're kind of teasing for potential like story beats like later on in the season. Yeah, and also the Anzellans or whatever they call them, Babu Fricks, like aliens.
The Fricks.
The Fricks, dude. I freaking love them. I freaking love them.
That's too easy.
I'm having an absolute blast with it so far. And it's also kind of given me hope that the volume technology, even though I'm not a huge fan of it, can actually be used really well, because it's used fantastically in episode 1 and 2 of season 3. So,
dude, yeah. I agree with that thought on the volume. Real quick, I think we've seen it used so many times poorly at this point, but like I have seen it, like even they used it on the Batman, and it looked really good the way they used it. Yeah. I think to me, it always comes down to this. Whenever we saw this with Attack of the Clones. You know, the Phantom Menace is officially the Star Wars movie with the most practical effects. And if you watch a documentary on it, which there is one, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's amazing. But they show some of the things that they do. It's incredible, some of the stuff that they do that you never would have thought was a practical effect, and it is. And then they just didn't have the digital quite where George wanted it to do everything digital until Attack of the Clones. And on Attack of the Clones, you can really feel, man, this is just, I don't feel the reality of the situation quite as much because it's all digital. And so they went too far the other way. And so I think with this scenario, it's kind of the same thing. Mando used it really well from the get-go because the creators of the technology created the Mandalorian. So it was just kind of the perfect marriage. But then you see these other directors use it, and it's not nearly as good a lot of the times. And but then I have seen it with, whether it's in the Mandalorian or whether it's in the Batman, they use it for a lot of the skyline scenes when they're at the top of the building, and it just looks fantastic. I think what I go back to is, yeah, it looks great. If I keep coming back to this, like anything, it's when used in moderation, it can be a great tool. It's a great tool, but you wouldn't use a hammer to, I don't know, do something a hammer doesn't do. I couldn't think of a good analogy on the spot. But tools have specific uses, and when you go outside of that use, it's pointless. So I think that the volume is a great tool, and when you use it wrong, it looks bad. So, Jess, what about you? What were your thoughts on the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, big picture, and then specifically your big picture thoughts on this episode? You thought you unmuted yourself, but you muted yourself. Oh, well, I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Let's go to Drew. Let's go to Drew Miller, and then we'll come back to Jess.
We're doing it live. Okay, so I really enjoyed the debut episode. Especially the giant turtle alligator monster thing that Din blew the guts out the side of with his proton torpedo. That was stinking awesome to see. Am I still here?
Oh, you're still here.
Oh, I thought I wasn't for a second. I lost myself in my earphones here.
What's happening?
We got technical issues all over the place here. It was great going back to Navarro and seeing all the different species that are there now and thriving. Especially the Anzillans. That was a lot of fun. And the pirate stuff was really, really fun. And it just, gosh, that just fits so perfect into the Mandalorian, the pirates. And it's like, we've done our best. Navarro has a dark, bad history, crime, bounty hunting. Now we're cleaning up our act. And I like, the people in your lives when you make good changes that are most upset about it are the people that don't want to change with you. And, the pirates wanted to go, well, we want to drink in here. Well, that's a school. You kind of can't do that. Well, I want to go in here because it used to be a strip club. Well, it's not that anymore. You can't go in there and do that. It would have been funny if they would have said that. Well, that's a school now. You can't go in there. Oh, no, those are on Coruscant. We've seen those. I don't know why I went to that. It's been a long day. Michael saw my typing earlier. I can barely function right now. So I really enjoyed that. They're going back to Mandalore nice and quickly. And I was worried like Mandalore was teased. They showed they're gonna go back there. I was like, man, they're gonna like kind of do all this and then go to Mandalore. They went right into it, and it was incredible. Some good deep cuts of lore are starting to come to the surface. Including some legend stuff that they're kind of retooling, like Mandalore the Great and things like that. Hello, we got a mythosaur today, and I haven't freaked out about it yet. Well, I did not on live stream. I freaked about it both in person and text message, but we got a friggin' mythosaur, and that was incredible. And I only had one criticism that happened today, and I'll be very quick with it because it's not really something to discuss because it's not super common, but it's happened a few times. A majority of Din's dialogue in today's episode was just exposition between him and Grogu. And I was like, come on, because I believe Josh put on Twitter that Brendan Wayne, John Wayne's grandson, who is doing the live action and this, the stuff in the suit and the armor for Din, he's not getting enough credit for helping bring this character to life. The credit that Pedro Pascal is getting is well deserved. Dude's awesome. He helps deliver the emotion and the drive in the character. But today I was like, dude, his only dialogue is kind of just telling Grogu what's going on while we're walking around. It kind of felt like in a video game when there's a scene where you're walking and you can't change your character's speed and you can't skip people talking. It kind of felt like that. But then everything in the episode happened and it was incredible and I forgot all about it. So that was really great. And I was talking about this with Lore Seeker earlier and on Twitter with some people I didn't know. Some of the really, really awesome to see like religious aspects and themes that they're using. The episode 1 was titled The Apostate, which is someone who denounces or walks away from a belief. And then you have there was like a baptism type ritual and all sorts of really cool stuff. And I've just really enjoyed seeing that. So first 2 episodes, incredible. And I'm super glad Mando's back.
Yeah, agreed. Jess, did you get it fixed? No.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know. No. Still can't hear you. Try, Jess. Okay. Can you hear me, Jess? I don't know if this is going to work, but you can try coming back in. I'll just leave and then come back in. Peace.
And I'll tell a joke in the meantime. No, I'm kidding.
I can go real quick. So Drew, one thing really quick about what you're saying. I actually think I'm really happy to see. I do think Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder, Lateef Crowder is the other one that does a lot of the action stuff for the Mando suit. They're getting more credit than they have because they're actually in the credits now.
Yes, I noticed that,
which is awesome. So I'm really happy to see. Yes, we think Pedro Pascal when we think Internet Daddy Mando. Of course, weird. we think Pedro Pascal, and that's to be expected because he is the big actor doing it. That's the voice we hear. We don't see the face of the other guys. But it's great to see them getting credits, like literal credits for it.
Yes, it is
on the screen. So I do love that aspect. Jess, how's it going?
I think it's working.
It's working. Sometimes you just got to restart.
And the noise is gone too. The short.
It does sound better now.
Woo.
Yeah. Okay. So I was about to go, but Jess, you're back in. Let's go. What were your favorite things about? Or what were your thoughts on the 2 episodes? And then just big picture, what are your main thoughts on this episode?
I have really enjoyed both episodes. I am fine with the first episode starting off like a little slower. I know some people had issues with that and didn't like it, but if that was kind of them setting up what is to come with the season and, showing a little bit of pirates and just different aspects of kind of lore in the Star Wars universe, then we got to buckle up for this season. I think it just I just think it really shows that there's going to be a lot of really great things that are going to happen. How many episodes is this season supposed to have?
8.
Yeah. So, there's going to be a lot of really, really good stuff. So I loved the pirates. I know that there wasn't Hondo yet, but we know he's alive. So I can definitely see them hopefully maybe bringing him into this. I would love to see Hondo live action.
We all want it. Just give it to us.
I want to hear Hondo try to communicate with Grogu and just not understand that it's not going to happen. He just continues to try.
Hondo would love Grogu.
I feel like Hondo would talk to Grogu regardless if they could talk to each other or not. Like, he would just keep talking and have full-on conversations. You know, like, he'd just be one of those people, and I'm here for it. So
yeah,
he'd be Grogu's like cool uncle.
Yes, he would. He'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm taking the baby to go like steal some stuff on this other planet. I'll be back.
Kind of like on a sitcom when single dudes use a cute baby to pick up girls. That's what he does, except it's to steal things.
Yeah, and then he comes back and Grogu's like eating a frog or some new cookie or something, you know, like.
That's how he gets Grogu to go with him. He like gives him a bunch of food.
He's like, I promise you, whatever, you know, cool food is at this place, I'm gonna get it for you. And Grogu's like, all right, I'll use the Force for you to help you carry some extra loot, you know, whatever.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, so I'm really excited about that. I don't know. I really love all the stuff about Mandalorians and anything that kind of goes back even prior to what we have about the Jedi and the Skywalkers, just anything kind of outside that time frame is very interesting to me. And so the fact that we're going to get some more prior to that, which has to do with, you know, the Mandalore and, you know, who knows what this could, I don't know. I just see big picture as far as this brings a lot more things into the current, like, canon fold, you know? So you've got more opportunity for Old Republic stuff to come into play, and just anything that has to do with Mandalorians, it just really more reinforces other stories and other characters and things that have happened in the past as far as, you know, Star Wars stories. So that is exciting to me. And also, big picture, I love just the tie-ins that these episodes have had with the Clone Wars. As someone who deeply loves the animated series of Star Wars, and I get that we're all, you know, as adults, we're busy and there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of Star Wars content out there, but if you just don't want to watch it for the sake of it's animated, to me, that is just like such a cop-out. It doesn't count as an argument to me to not watch it. And so
it doesn't count as an argument.
It doesn't. It's not a valid argument, whatever. I just love them more like reinforcing the importance of the animated series in Star Wars. And we're getting that even in The Mandalorian, which even, you know, the dude bros and Fandom Menace seem to love this show. And so I don't know. I love that. I love that aspect of, hey, you know, this stuff that you guys kind of talk bad about, or, you know, the sequels or different things, we're reinforcing those aspects of Star Wars, and I love that. So
yeah. For me, this show, the marketing was pretty good leading up to it, but honestly, with Andor was so good, but it was also so serious, and that's not a bad thing. It was exactly what it needed to be. Hardly any humor. It was subtle. When it was humor, it was more subtle. And it was perfect. Andor to me was perfect, just about. But I'm not going to lie. When the Bad Batch started, I was like, I'm so happy. This is just silly, campy, fun Star Wars again. And I love it. And then because of that, it was priming me up for that. But in live action, I kind of view the Bad Batch and Mando in the same kind of pocket of Star Wars. You know, you got for me, like the big thematic depth stuff, like Empire, The Last Jedi, Andor in one pocket. But then you got this stuff, Mando, The Bad Batch, Return of the Jedi, just really fun, silly, but also really heartfelt stuff, you know. And I was really excited to get back to that and into this world. And I've loved The Mandalorian from the beginning, but from the very beginning of this season, I've just been all in. I loved the first episode. I loved the first episode a lot. I do, you know, I understand. I don't really understand why people just straight up wouldn't like it, but I understand feeling like, you know, last season, the first episode was the Marshal, and the Marshal is epic. It's just massive in scale. We got a freaking crate dragon and, you know, Cobb Vanth and all that stuff. It was such a great episode. It might be my favorite Mando episode.
And Boba Fett.
And Boba Fett. Yeah. I mean, there's so much about that episode. Tatooine never looked so, the scale of Tatooine was never so grand. And the Tusken Raiders, all that, so good. And then, you know, this episode was the season premiere. It was 35 minutes. And of course, people complain about time in Mando, and I don't care. This show is perfect for a shorter runtime. I don't care what you say. But I do understand, you know, comparing it to that season and being like, yeah, but this one was a lot lighter and it wasn't quite so epic, and we've waited 2 years for it. I get that. I get that thought. I disagree with it, but I get it. But I just enjoyed coming back to this world. It was really cool seeing Navarro so like civilized and flourishing, and Grief Karga just dripping with charisma and like
drip.
Power, and
his little droids carrying.
He's dripping with drip. Is that what you said? What?
I said his little droids carrying with his cape was the best.
Yes. So good, so good.
I was like, talk about status in Star Wars. I have droids to carry my
High Magistrate.
I loved it. Okay, wait, really quick. Drew's got to go here in what? You said 15 minutes. Okay, so we'll.
Yeah, no worries. No, let's keep rolling as is. We're good. Even if I miss out on a little Bad Batch talk, it's good.
Oh, Drew, that breaks my heart, man.
I know. My heart. I mean, you can get me right before I go with what it was, but let's just keep on.
Yeah, we'll get your quick thoughts.
We're good.
We'll get your quick thoughts right before you go. So, okay, so but big picture on the season, I'm loving it. I also think one of my favorite things is like in the first episode, the goofiness and with the Anzellans and the humor with the Anzellans and Grief Karga, like ducking down and like just talking to them and trying to translate for Mando. And Mando's like, yeah, man, I got it. Like, I just thought that was all so funny. And then
also, I have a random thought like about that scene. The set design was so good in that scene. There was so many like little like trinkets and like just it just brought like so much life, and also just the fact that it was like this really small room and like just Mando's like barely fitting in there is just perfect.
He's like sitting in there, but he's like it reminds me of like Gandalf in a Hobbit house or like Luke in Yoda's house. That kind of it was reminiscent of that to me. But yeah, man, I loved it. The freaking Pirate King Gorian Shard. I mean, it's like old Greg and the Swamp Thing had a baby. That's what Gorian Shard is. And
stop. I don't want to start quoting old Greg, and you know I will. Hi there.
Do you love me? So I just loved the goofiness. I think there was so much to be had there, but also I do just, and this bleeds into this current episode, Bo-Katan, seeing her just so like she's in a place where she is not motivated anymore. Her team has betrayed her, has basically just given up on her. Because she doesn't have the Darksaber anymore, and she is, I mean, under her rule, so many bad things happen, and now she doesn't even have the Darksaber. And so I guess they've abandoned her, and she is just like, okay, whatever, I give up. And her attitude in the first episode and then the beginning of the second episode, where she's just sitting on that throne, just like almost like Fat Thor playing video games, that kind of thing. Just like, I don't care anymore, whatever. Noob Master 69, I'll kick your butt. But that's on Endgame.
I forgot I had that as my email signature.
No. But I just love the direction they're taking Bo-Katan in this episode. I really like how she's still in that mode, but you can tell she also really does care for, like, I think she cares about Din. And like the look on her face when she realized, when, you know, Grogu pulled up, she walks out there and is like, I told you to leave me alone. The look on her face when she realizes Din's not there, and like, wait, is he okay? And then how quickly she just is like, I'm going. And to see her, like Drew said earlier, to being so brave, going back to that place again after the trauma of, I mean, just hurt. She has failed that place. Like, under her stewardship of Mandalore is in shambles. So many people died, almost everyone. And so seeing her kind of wrestle with this, but still also go with Din, and even saying, I'm going to help you get there. I'm going to help, like, even though like she doesn't understand. She's like, I honestly find it adorable that you actually believe this stuff, these children's stories. And one thing I really liked about that part was, I think for the longest time, since we heard her talk about the Children of the Watch in season 2, we have thought of, I mean, she called it a cult. And from that time, we have all just been like, oh man, yeah, they're a cult. Yeah, they're all bad. And I think in this season, we're seeing the cult is flourishing, you know, because in the book of Boba Fett, it was just basically the armor and Paz Vizsla and Din, but now he's an apostate. They're in shambles. And now some time has passed, and the Children of the Watch have grown in number, right? They've grown. They're starting to grow again. While Mandalore,
they got kids.
They got kids, yeah. While Mandalore is still in ruins, and Bo-Katan is like just depressed. And so now we're seeing a different side of things, and it's like, I don't know. I still don't know what to think. I still think they're extremists on some level, but I also think, you know, they're really doing a great job of making me question, wait, which of these is, like, you know, I find it really interesting that we're questioning, should Din just abandon this thing, or is there something to this religion that's holding Mandalore together? Do they need to unite? Is it needed to unite Mandalore? They're making us ask some really interesting questions that I think we all just assumed this was a bad cult, you know? And so I think that's a really interesting aspect of this show. I just went into some real deep details there. Last big picture, I just think that this episode was so well directed on every level. Mm-hmm. I saw IGN posted a 5 out of 10 grade because the episode was dark, like darkly lit. I didn't have any issues with that. I haven't seen anyone. Yeah, I know. I didn't see any other people with that issue. And so they literally just gave it that grade because they couldn't, it was dark, I guess. They need to reset their TV screen, because I could see everything in that mine, even the fight stuff. I thought it was so well done, really capable hands of, does someone have that name on off the top of their mind? I can't remember what her name is, the director.
On it.
Yeah, Drew, just get that for me. That'd be great. I cannot remember her name. She's new to Mandalorian. But I just thought that was so great. Freaking Mythosaur.
Fun
And
fact.
also, yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, fun fact about the director. She was the cinematographer for Rick Famuyiwa's film Dope. So there's like this interesting like kind of tie-in. Like
I love
someone that it's so cool how they always like bring in these people that they've like worked with before.
Yeah, that they know and trust.
Yeah, but yeah, I was like really impressed with her direction, considering she hasn't done a lot of direction. I think she had a few credits, but not anything like super notable.
Rachel Morrison.
Rachel Morrison. Thank you.
So yeah, her direction was fantastic.
Yeah, so good. And then my last thought, and then we need to get Drew's. I just want to get like a quick thought of Drew on the Bad Batch before he goes, because I know he's got to go and I want to respect your time. But Grogu in this episode, he's just been kind of along for the ride for a lot of this. And yeah, he was a big focus of last season, taking him to the Jedi and all that stuff. But we haven't seen him like really do a lot with agency on his own. Even when he left Din, he was with Luke Skywalker, right? So seeing him like go and like Din's like go get Bo-Katan, and he just goes, and he's learning to navigate space, like so cool. I just got the biggest kick out of seeing him hop in the ship, like do this flip out of the ship, and then instantly points to the screen and looks back at R5. It was just the cutest, most awesome thing. Mm-hmm. And then I loved that he just actually had, I think he's had a point through this whole series. There's lots of great things that he's helped with Din's character, but now we're seeing him actually grow himself, and I love that. So anyway, we'll talk more Mandalorian here in a minute, but Drew, Bad Batch, quick thoughts, and then you can go.
So Bad Batch, I liked last week's episode better just because it was the Zillow Beast. And they even threw in Mazer cannons, which is like kind of a deep Godzilla lore cut, which is awesome. But this week's episode was incredible, and I really love the story they told and how gritty and how sadly realistic it was, everyone's seen, or we're going to deal with one of these days, you're going to see people, loved ones, like, in the workforce, wherever it kind of phased out, forced retirement, basically. People that retire, that's cool. But when you're forced out and you're still capable, that sucks. And seeing that with these clone troopers and the fact that the Empire just really couldn't give two hoots or two honks, whatever you want to go with, hoots or honks, both are acceptable here. Like I said, my brain is just today. We're gonna go with honks. The Empire couldn't give two honks about these clones, and they just hate them so much. Literally, they have them on this planet. What did I do?
Oh no, that's just so honks. That made me laugh so hard. The Empire doesn't give two honks.
I mean, I'm trying to be a little PG, Literally, they have them on this little desolate Barton 5, this like moon piece of crap, frozen wasteland in the middle of nowhere, and they have no supplies. They've requested supplies. They've requested backup. And they're sitting there guarding supplies that they could have used, but with your clones. And that dude, spoiler, when Crosshair shot that dude, I was never more happy to see someone be murdered in a show nearly. Except for like if she was on the show Superstore, if they would have murdered Justine, that would have been cool too. I hated her, but I saw a random tweet I had about that. I don't really know where that came from. But I don't often cheer for people to die in like a show, and I was like, I really hope that Vulture comes on and like pecks that dude's eyes out or something like that. And instead, just Crosshair just waste him, just goes full Han Solo style. So it was just it was a painful story, but it was really just the way they can take an animated show. It's like, oh, animated shows are for kids. Shut up! Come on, this show it's real. And my uncle, he's an army chaplain, he's watched The Bad Batch a little bit, and he was shocked about how kind of real the show got dealing with some stuff, regarding like from a military standpoint about like the mindset of like, troopers and stuff like that. And this show really showed that. This guy comes in and just starts swinging his weight around, and he's like, I'll tell you what, how many missions have you led? And he just like, yeah, I thought so. He just comes in swinging weight out of nowhere, but I'm with the Empire. I have value. And these guys are like, we've not earned it in our mind, but unfortunately, that's how the Empire works. And he had a very what was his name? Mayday,
yeah,
Mayday, something fun
Loved
like that.
him so much.
He was awesome. I mean, he was just a broken man, and he had nothing left, and he really, really touched Crosshair. And Crosshair, I mean, he was already kind of in a dark place because in the first episode, dude didn't get to finish his freaking soup 3 times in a row. They kept calling him out of the lunchroom, couldn't even eat. So he's already in a dark place. And, Cody, I think, really got in his mind a little bit. And now the fact that he's, just assaulted an officer. And I was sitting there, I was like, oh man, if they capture him, they're probably going to take him to the summit on Mount Tannis. And that's where he wakes up. And now I'm thinking the Batch is going to rescue Crosshair. And
Omega's there too.
Yeah. Or Crosshair is going to, do something drastic whenever he learns like the Batch is there. Or they're going to like set the Zillow beast free or something like that. That's going to happen.
Set it free. Poor thing.
Big old Godzilla monster. So yeah, those are my thoughts. It was I could probably dive in a little deeper. I didn't really catch any crazy like Easter eggs or like cool references or things like that, but just the episode didn't need that to be special. And even with the mannerisms of Mayday walking in there, and they've got the helmet set out for all his brothers that he's lost, and then he puts that one up and it's crooked, and he just makes sure it's perfect, and Crosshair's just there, and it was just really good. It's better now that I'm thinking about it. I need to watch it a second time again, but it was really good.
I loved it so much. We'll talk about it a little more in detail, unfortunately, when you're gone. But yeah. I adored this episode. This season has really just, me, Drew, you and I are on the same, like, we are very similar in this. Like, I even loved the not pod racing episode, the one that was kind of pod racing. I love that. I love the episodes that are just fun. I love those. And so I've loved the whole season, honestly, from episode 1 all the way through. But when this show gets real, it really goes hard. Like
nowhere.
I'm like out of nowhere. That Cody episode, and then episodes 7 and 8, and then now the last couple of episodes have just been when it goes darker. Beautiful Lego. But yeah, when it gets darker, this show, the Kiners doing their score, the score is just incredible. But I just feel like there's certain episodes where the whole series seems to put all of their top people on this episode, and this was one of them.
Top men. Indiana
what? Oh, I was like, what are you talking about? Sorry.
I actually nearly texted you specifically about the soundtrack whenever Crosshair shot that person, and it had that like dark synth. It was like, dong. I was like, ooh, I love that.
It's so good. That's what like Crosshair's like theme is basically just a synth, like a low synth note. It's the best. It's like,
I kind of wish that would happen every time I walk in a room. Like, it's like, oh, Drew's here.
Yeah.
Be cool.
Drew, anything else before you got to go, man?
I don't know. I really managed to, even without my notes in front of me, kind of hammer off everything and just really be pretty organic with my thoughts here. Just kind of roll them off as I went. So it was really nice. This week has been crazy stressful. Actually, just the past little bit has. We're getting equipment geared up to hit the road on Sunday. So
here it goes.
That means it's a really crazy season for me. But so no, this has been a really enjoyable kind of way to blow off some steam tonight. And then last night was the same because me and my wife went out and had a really nice anniversary dinner, and I got the meat sweats from a huge steak at a place in Little Rock, and it was awesome.
Yes.
It was really good. But no, I've appreciated being on here, so I'm going to yield all of my time to Drew. He gets all of it. Nobody else gets my time. Only Drew gets it as the guest, okay?
Plus that's your name. So I mean,
yes,
it only
so
makes sense.
Drew now becomes the Drew of the night, okay?
Dude, right. I'm glad. I know it's been crazy over there. Thanks for hopping on.
Always. So anyways, keep me in the loop. You never know when got a free Wednesday night or something like that somewhere for recording or whatever. And if anything, I'm still going to be able to be punching out some YouTube content. So that'll be good.
That's good. Heck yeah, man. We'll keep you in the loop. I'll talk to you later, man.
Later, guys.
Later.
See ya. Well, he's finally gone. I'm just kidding. I miss him already. Okay, so let's get back to the Mandalorian. We'll get back to the Bad Batch soon. But Jess, how much time do you have?
I was just looking at that. I probably have till about 10:30.
Okay. We may have to get back to the Bad Batch with just me and Drew, unfortunately. But Jess, I'll tell you what.
I can give some just overall thoughts on Bad Batch.
Yeah, give overall thoughts. You gave your big overall thoughts on Mando, so go ahead and let's just do that with the Bad Batch. And then, Drew, we can just talk however long we want, man. All right.
I have really loved this season of the Bad Batch. I feel like it's really gotten into some really good character development with especially Omega. And I love her heart and just her empathy for people, and how she genuinely just cares and kind of is a good reminder to people that yes, like in like other characters in the show, that yes, you know, this is a war and we have enemies and we have evil and bad versus good, but there's good in everyone, and you know, let's try to make sure we're trying to save people and help everyone, you know. And I love that positivity in her, and she's a little naive, but it also is a really good reminder because I think, you know, when the Bad Batch has been through everything that they've been through, it's pretty easy for them to kind of get cynical and negative and just focusing on, you know, their crew and their group and how can we survive this, you know, and not thinking of others outside of that. So I've really loved seeing that from her. And I don't know, I've loved the music in this. And I mean, I've loved all of Bad Batch, but I don't know. There's just something about like this season. It's just been hitting even harder. Even this latest episode, I was just like, geez, the score is so good. And you know, with this latest episode, just seeing Crosshair kind of seeing finally the realization of the Empire, and I think him ignoring all of the red flags and everything that he kind of can't do that anymore. And so I'm very interested to see going forward what's going to happen with him. And, you know, he's kind of made a choice, but what does he do with that choice? And, you know, how is that going to translate back to, you know, the Bad Batch? And, you know, is he going to join the group or what is he going to do, you know? And so I'm very interested in seeing where they all go from everything that's happened so far. Yeah. Sorry, I've been super scattered with, you know, it was a little bit of a mess before I got on. So, and then, I guess can I say a couple of things about this episode specifically of The Mandalorian?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
That actually transitions us back to The Mandalorian.
Perfect.
So that's great.
I am so excited, like I've already said, about this season. And the fact that there was a mythosaur, I was just like,
Oh my gosh.
Jumping up and screaming. And my husband, who is not a Star Wars like nerd like I am, like he'll watch them, and he's very much enjoyed The Mandalorian. It's probably been one of his favorite things that Disney has come out with Star Wars related shows, or that type of thing. And so he's like, what? And I was like explaining it to him. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Like trying to get him as hyped about it as I am. So I just I'm really, really excited to see next week and what they do. I hope it's not like a cut to like a different story and then they come back to this. But
this is what the Bad Batch does. They could subvert my expectations. They have a banger episode, and then they go back to a mission that Sid has them on. I just have this feeling that's going to be, but I also think they're going to leave Sid. Yeah,
so, they could.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. Who knows what she's got going on? I don't know. I think there's some layers to that onion.
Yeah, I think it's time for them to go. I think it's time for them to ditch. I don't trust her at all.
Yeah.
And work with Rex, please.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that'd
Echo.
Be awesome.
Freaking Echo.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
That's my one disappointment this season.
I know. I felt like before this season you were kind of like, I want more Echo, and then this happened.
And then it's like, okay, more Echo. Bye.
I know. I really was like, oh, Michael doesn't get his like. Literally, I was thinking of that when he was like, I'm gonna go do this, guys.
I was, on one hand, yes, I'm very sad that we're not getting Echo on a weekly basis, but I actually was happy to see him find. I knew like even last season, I don't think he felt like the Batch was doing what they needed to be doing. I could tell he and Hunter had some philosophical differences. I was hoping they would get a little more into that this season, and they did for one episode, and then he left. I thought that it was maybe a little abrupt, but I am glad that I think him going off with Rex is the perfect thing. I think that's exactly what he should have done. But yeah, anyway, we'll talk about him. We'll talk about the Bad Batch more later, but
But then with the Mandalorian, going back to the Mythosaur, I really hope they like immediately start off from that in the next episode.
Oh, I changed it to the Bad Batch when you were talking about Mando.
It's all good.
My mind is all Bad Batch right now. I'm so sorry.
This is like just going to be a scattered night. It's fine.
It is. I'm so sorry. No, I agree with you. What a cliffhanger. Like, I couldn't, like, when the Mandalorian doesn't really have a lot of cliffhangers. A lot of the episodes are self-contained. And when they are cliffhangers, it's like, not like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a cliffhanger that they've done. Like,
the first Boba Fett reveal, like when they first teased him.
But that was more of a tease, less of a cliffhanger.
Yeah. And then they never did anything with it for like up until because that was in season 1, wasn't it? When they teased him?
No, season 2.
Was it? Okay.
The very first episode of season 2.
And didn't they not show him for like a hot minute though?
Until like episode 6, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the last one that I remember that was truly a cliffhanger would have been the episode leading into season 1 finale when Queel is killed at the very end, and then that's the end of the episode. And it's like, oh no. I think that's probably the biggest cliffhanger that I can remember. But rest in peace, Queel. But yeah, anyway, I love that. What an ending with the Mythosaur and Bo diving in and saving him again. She always dives in and saves them in water. But yeah, any other thoughts?
I was like loving the jetpack in the water. I was like, this is so cool.
Yep. Absolutely.
I don't know. I guess for me, my biggest thing that I'm kind of hoping for, especially with Bo, is for her to find some solace in her past and kind of the hand that has been dealt to her, and her deciding, what can I do with this? I think she kind of went the typical path of, I want the Darksaber and I'm going to rule and we're going to start over and all this stuff. But maybe she needs to be a little bit more like her sister. And maybe there's a little bit of a balance there that she can find as far as the way forward for the Mandalorians, and so you can see a lot of trauma in her. And I think that's where a lot of her her defeat comes from. I think it's deeper than just, oh, they all left, because compared to other things she's been through, that's not as, I think, as like on a scale, of other stuff that has happened in her life. That's not as big of a setback, I think, as like her sister dying or the entire world being, just evaporated almost by the Empire, So
yeah,
I'm really, really, besides just Din's story, I'm really interested to see kind of Bo-Katan finding some peace, I think, so.
Yeah. Do you think that my thought is, I wonder if, Bo-Katan she's kind of being the character of the show that is kind of, you could say she's left the faith, I guess. You could say she is almost I'm blanking on a word. I'm scatterbrained. What's the word? Not agnostic. Agnostic. She almost seems agnostic about anything in life. And
she's
then
very skeptical and cynical. She's like a cynic now,
cynical,
I feel like.
yes. And then you have the zealots on the other side, or what we've perceived as zealots. They are all in and extreme. But I think that my prediction is that Din is going to unite all of the factions of Mandalore, and going to be the one to be like, I was a child of the Watch. And I think he might eventually, as the season goes on, my prediction would be that he might start to see the faults in that are there. But also, I think that he could show Bo-Katan some of the strengths of it. I think that he can bring everyone together and say, not every one of us is going to be the same, but we are Mandalorians, and we need to stop fighting each other and band together. And so I wonder if he's going to be the one to reunite Mandalore. And I that's just my thought. I wonder.
Yeah.
But I also would love
about that.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay. I want to see if that, or I mean, Bo-Katan could do it too. I'm curious to know your thoughts, Drew. But Jess, I want to respect your time. I know we could get really deep into this if we wanted to, but I also don't want to keep you longer than you need to be on here. So do you need to head off?
Yeah, I probably do.
Okay.
I probably need to be responsible and head out for tonight. But
what's that?
We need to do this. I know, right? We need to do this again more often, and then we can even deep dive into more specific things.
Agreed. I totally agree. Maybe if we're not trying to cover 12 episodes at a time in one live stream. Just not a lot of room for it.
Yeah.
But well, I'm glad you got to come on tonight, Jess.
Yes. Even with all the random technical difficulties, I made it. We did it. So
we did it. We've done it.
We all have fun continuing to talk about all the good stuff. But anyway, thanks for letting me join, and I hope y'all have a great rest of your night.
Okay. Night, Jess. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Bye. And then there were two. Drew, are you good for a while? Do you need to get off anytime soon?
I could probably go for like another 30, 40 minutes or so.
Okay, cool. That's great.
Yeah.
So let's spend a few more minutes on Mandalorian because I feel like I know you have thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts, but I also want to make sure we talk about the Bad Batch because boy, I keep naturally accidentally gravitating back to the Bad Batch apparently. So want to get onto that. But what are I know we've just talked about a lot of stuff and you mentioned you had thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think you're onto something about the Mandalorians like getting reunited. I think that's the direction that they're going. Which, by the way, I really love that this season has a huge emphasis on like the, I guess like the politics of the Mandalorians in a way.
Yes.
The Mandos have been like ever since I was a kid my favorite part of Star Wars. I love Mandalorian. So I really like how they're diving deep into this stuff. But I think that there's a certain person that they can introduce in this season that can kind of be the in-between of the extremists and someone like Bo-Katan. And
Hondo.
Yes. I think
it's Hondo.
I think it would make way too much sense. I don't see why they wouldn't introduce this character, but Sabine Wren, dude.
Oh yes, dude. She makes so much sense. Of course.
Because, like in Rebels, I feel like she was kind of that in between. They have like the traditions of the Mandalorians, but like they're also like not extremists in their beliefs. And so I feel like I'm not saying like she's going to be the leader of the Mandalorians. I think that's definitely Din's spot. I think he will be the one to like unite everyone. But I think that introducing Sabine into this season, especially if they're going to do this whole like kind of two sides joining together, she's like kind of in the middle of that. And I think it would be perfect to kind of tie them together. And also, it would just make so much sense to introduce her in the season, and then she's going to be a big character probably in the Ahsoka series. So it would just make so much sense. So I don't know. I have a feeling that's what they're going to do, and I really hope they do. And even though I said before, I'm like, I don't want this to be a cameo show, it would make sense because she is a Mandalorian, and she's witnessed the Empire wiping out Mandalore. So I really feel like they need to touch on that.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, I love that. I love that thought. I think it makes so much sense to have someone like her. And not only that, I think that one thing I really loved, and this is still on Sabine. I think she could be a part of this. But I loved seeing when Din pulls out the Darksaber, he's still really struggling with it, and I remember when I think it was in the Book of Boba Fett, because the armorer was helping train him with the Darksaber and teaching him about why it feels heavy. It's because you have it's basically like tied to your emotions and your thoughts. And we found out about that too with Sabine as well in Rebels with Trials of the Darksaber, which is one of the best episodes of the show. And I think that when you saw Bo-Katan pick that up and use the Darksaber, it looked light as a feather. She was so good with it. It was almost like she was back home, right?
Yeah.
And the seeing Din just struggle to defeat those things, and she took him out just like that, told me, I had two thoughts. Number one, I thought I can just see the idiots online saying, I can't believe they'd have a girl beat those things when the guy could barely do it. This show's so woke. I can just see that. But if you think about it, idiots, that number one, she has a ton of experience with the Darksaber, and we've already seen that Din is not good at it yet. Number two, she literally has been raised on Mandalore and knows how to beat, like she knows she knows the creatures there. She knows how to, you even saw her looking before they even popped up. You saw her, she sensed them. She pushed Grogu out of the way. She saw them through the glass stuff and shot them through it. She knows how to find them. She knows how to beat them because it's her home. It's her home territory. She knows that place. And so I love that.
A warrior. Like
she's a freaking warrior. Yes. Like, she's powerful as it is. Like she's a warrior. She was Death Watch for a while. Yeah. And so, I think all of that, but like back to the Darksaber stuff, I think that one of them, either Sabine or Bo-Katan or both, maybe, I think that if it's Din that's going to do the reuniting, they're going to train him in the Darksaber. And I think that could be really cool. And he's going to have to deal with some stuff though. Maybe that's when by the end of the season, maybe he does renounce I'm really torn. Like, I don't know which way they're going to go with this Children of the Watch thing. I don't know if they because I've watched sometimes when the Armorer is talking and I'm like, man, she's shady. I do not trust her. And she's definitely really extreme and fundamentalist about it. And so I don't like her at times, but then I'm also like, you saw in the very first episode at the beginning, did you see her put her life on the line, sacrifice her, basically she cares for those kids and for that clan. She cares for the Children of the Watch so much. Like the way that she ran into that water, it failed, but the way that she ran into that water and tried to attack that monster, that clan is definitely loyal. Like loyalty is a huge aspect of it. And so I love the idea that we're now seeing at least maybe they're extremists, but they're also there's also an admirable quality to them on some level, and maybe it's not all bad. I don't know, but maybe by the end of the season, I hope we're going to know one way or another. I like being torn right now. I don't want to feel torn all season. No, I want to know. And so, what are your thoughts on that side of things with the Children of the Watch and all that?
Yeah, I really, like I said, I like what they're doing with all of the Mandalorian stuff. And yeah, it's honestly tough to say what they're gonna do with them, because I can either see them, getting united with all of the other Mandalorian clans and stuff, or they end up being the main antagonist of this season. I could easily see that happening too. I feel like just the way that, like you said, the Armor sometimes seems a little shady, so I can see her maybe wanting to take the Darksaber for herself and, make Mandalore great again.
No.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But no, seriously, I could see them doing something like that.
That's good.
Just because of how extreme her views on the Mandalorian stuff is. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say which direction they're going, because I feel like they're teasing some things, but they're also being really ambiguous about stuff.
They are even hard. If you look, if you go back to the part at the end when Din was doing the baptism, the way he was quoting quoting the creed or whatever.
Yeah.
Walking into there, and the way that it was portrayed, the music was super hopeful and uplifting. And Bo-Katan even seemed to be a little bit inspired, or I don't know. I could her face looked like she was a little bit inspired or moved or something by this thing that he was doing. Yeah. And so it's so hard to tell which way they're going to go right now, because going into this season, I thought the Armorer was going to be the main antagonist. I really did. Like, I had in my head, she was only bad. And so now I'm actually asking questions about this, which is really cool. I love that it's not just like cut it and dry all the time, you know? And so, yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's some really interesting stuff they're going to explore. And I just think there's, and I do one other thing. I like that they are, you know, for the longest time, I felt like, why in the world, like, we keep hearing Din say, I'm going to redeem myself. I'm going to baptize myself in the living waters and be redeemed. We keep hearing him say these things. And every time he says these things, like, I feel like Bo-Katan, I'm like, why do you want to do this? And when they're talking at one point, I can't remember what she says, but he says something like, he talks about how Mandalore needs, like, basically it was the children of the Watch were, well, and he doesn't call it that, but the Creed, he calls it the Creed is what held Mandalore together. The Creed is what has sustained Mandalore. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? That's actually really interesting, because that, like, if you look at the factions of Mandalore that are left, you got a bunch of random assassins that are just out there, you know, doing their thing, that were with Bo-Katan. You got Bo-Katan, who's, you know, cynical and just sitting on the throne all depressed. And then you got the children of the Watch, who are kind of the only ones flourishing that we've seen. Maybe there's other ones, but it's interesting. At least that gives us an idea of why Din feels that way, even if it's ultimately maybe wrong eventually. I love that. I love that it's not just like, I don't feel like he's an idiot for wanting to do this. I also understand why Bo thinks it's stupid, because I did too. So, you know, it's really interesting. I didn't think that these would be the things that I was thinking about, that I would be thinking about this season, but I am.
Also, but another thing, I just like randomly thought of this. I hope they, like, this kind of like goes back to what we were talking about. I hope they like really explore who the Armorer's character is and who the Children of the Watch is. Because now that I think about it, I'm like, they could do something really interesting where Bo-Katan is, let's say, like a pure blood Mandalorian. She was born on Mandalore. She was royalty. And maybe the Armor isn't even actually a Mandalorian. Maybe she just wants to be one. Or maybe it's all a facade, you know?
Interesting.
So that, and like, I don't know, like, she could be like leading all of these people like astray, right? And like, I don't know, there's so many directions that they could be taking this.
Wow, she's like a televangelist. Oh man! Wow, man, yeah. There's so many parallels you could make with this stuff. But man, I'm loving it. And kind of more to kind of wrap up the Mando talk, I also love that we're 2 episodes in and they've already been to the living waters, right? We're not done there, obviously, because of the cliffhanger we had. But, you know, I kind of thought that might take all season. You know, I didn't know, because in my mind, it's like, okay, I know the Mandalorians. And by the way, I support this format. I know the format of the Mandalorian. They might have an episode or 2 that connect at the beginning, but then there's going to be a bunch of standalone episodes, and then the last couple are going to be one story, and that's going to be where the Mandalore stuff is going to come in. Nope, 2 episodes in, we've tackled a lot of things related to Mandalore. Bo-Katan is already a major star in the show. We saw a mythosaur at the end. And I don't know where we're going for the rest of the season. It's really exciting.
Yeah. One more random thought. because I know we need to go talk about Bad Batch. Dude, whatever that creature droid thing was,
oh my gosh,
that captured Din, that was one of the coolest, weirdest creatures that they've ever added to Star Wars, and I have more of whatever that.
It was like if Grievous were like an animal.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Grievous a little bit.
Yeah.
It had this weird quality to it that it moved kind of like Grievous did. But dude, yeah, it was super creepy. And then when it died and the head came off and just crawled into the
oh yeah.
It was so weird and so creepy.
Yeah.
I loved it. But
I saw I think it was a comment on Reddit. It was either Reddit or Twitter, I can't remember. But I saw someone say, "Oh, they found pre-Vizsla." I was like, dude, could you imagine? He just became like this weird creature in the caves of Mandalore.
He survived on hate.
Yeah.
Just like Maul.
Yes. Oh man.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears. Let's talk about the Bad Batch. So first of all, I'd like to start with you because you have kind of an interesting journey this season. You just binged a lot of the season, right? So tell me about what your thoughts on the season. How was your binge? Was that fun?
Yeah, it was great. So I was actually watching the first few episodes with a friend. Like we had watched like pretty much all of the recent Star Wars shows together. But life being busy with both of us and stuff, it's hard to like schedule that. So I got like super behind. And also I think another part of it is that I wasn't like fully in love with this season by that point. I didn't love the first two episodes. I mean, I still enjoyed them. Like, don't get me wrong, but like as a pilot, like especially from how season 1 started, I wasn't like as hyped about it, I guess. But then there was the Cody episode that was great, and then I really enjoyed the pod racing episode. But after that, like I hadn't caught up, and then I think I ended up watching the Zepho. Is that what it's called? Yes, the Zepho episode, and I really enjoyed that. But then I fell off again. But when I actually like sat down and like binged through all these episodes, I was so upset with myself because every episode after those like first 4 or 5 were incredible. I loved every single one of them. Yeah, like I think the first one that I came back to was I cannot remember the Wookiee Jedi's name.
Gunji.
Yeah.
Gungi. I think it's Gunji.
Gunji, yeah. I think that was the first episode that I came back to, and I was like, that was just like it wasn't even like a part of the big like story, like the big picture, but it was a super fun episode and had beautiful. It was beautiful. Had great dialogue, thematically fantastic. And then right after that, the 2-parter with Senator Chuchi, incredible episodes. I love the politics of the prequels.
Yes.
Like, I don't care what anyone has to say. That is like some of the most fascinating Star Wars content. So like kind of getting back to like some of those really cool like political arcs of Clone Wars. It was like a nice callback. Had great character moments. And like Senator Chuchi was awesome in it. But I really like how is it Rampart? Is that his name?
Yes.
Rampart, I love what they did with his character in these 2 arcs. He's like pushing so hard to get the clones out, and Chuchi has like all this evidence is like, hey, they actually destroyed Camino and like all of the clones on it and the Kaminoans. So yeah, maybe we shouldn't do this. And I thought it was so cool when Emperor Palpatine like rose up and that sneaky bastard was like, we do not condone this, blah blah blah, and just like completely spun his like plan.
Yeah.
And screwed over Rampart, and then went and said, well, actually, the clones were the ones who were on the Venator destroying Camino. So maybe we don't need them because they were following us. And I just thought that was incredible. Like it was just, it was the most like Palpatine thing ever. I was just like, dude. So yeah, those episodes were fantastic.
Brilliant bastard.
And then I think the next episodes after that were the next two-parter. With the like the miners, I think they were.
The first one was when they were just in those tunnels, and it was kind of I love that episode because it was just kind of like Omega dealing with like she was missing Echo, basically. Like she was really missing Echo and like almost like mad, like she didn't know how to process it. And so she was processing it the whole time. And then Tech was kind of like juxtaposed with her and like, I mean, I'm a soldier, but he came across as kind of callous about it. But I saw online a lot of people, well, I didn't see a lot of people with autism, but I did see some people with autism online. Like they felt seen in this episode because of how they handled Tech. And I thought that's super cool because he said, I can't remember the exact line, but she was like, how can you not care about this? And I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like, just because it doesn't look like I'm mad doesn't mean, or just because it doesn't look like I miss him doesn't mean I don't miss him.
Yeah.
I'm like, people process things differently. And I think the way that I think this season, the way that they've handled Tech, I think because before this season, we always just kind of viewed him as either Mr. Exposition or just like almost a droid, essentially, right? Like just a step above a droid, and in the best possible way. Like I've always loved Tech, but he wasn't a whole lot of a character. And I feel like this season, even in the first couple episodes, like he got injured in those first couple episodes, and then he did the driving on that pod racing episode, which was really fun.
I loved that episode.
I did too, dude. I thought it was so good. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten some really fun character stuff with Tech this season, because we've always seen him as kind of in that episode in particular, we've always seen him as almost a droid, but in that episode, we saw him literally racing against a droid, and we saw him like, I keep saying this word, but juxtaposed against an actual droid, seeing like, oh man, Tech really is like, Tech is his own person. He's a real person, and he has so much to offer that droids don't have. And I think that episode was a really great humanizing episode. And I think this whole season has been that for him. So yeah, I had all those notes about Tech. And since you had mentioned that episode, that was one of my favorite parts about it. Just, I think that one of my favorite things about this show is sometimes when they just sit and talk. And so that episode where Omega and Tech were just talking was really great, man. It was just so good.
Yeah.
But
I think,
continue.
I think, to kind of bounce off of that real quick. Yeah, all of my favorite episodes of Bad Batch. I mean, like, sure, there's like some cool action-packed episodes, but like even some of the action-packed, like exciting episodes have those like quiet, calm moments where they're just talking, and it's really deep stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I know we mentioned like way early on, like other Drew was like talking about like just out of nowhere, just like getting like super deep with this stuff.
Yeah.
So I love that about this show, and especially this season. But yeah, so those two episodes, I really enjoyed them. And also the like thief character that they introduced, obviously like he's gonna have to return. I like how they did like the little like send off with him where he's like, yeah, I owe you one. Like if you ever need a really good thief. So I bet you that my theory is that Omega is gonna get like kidnapped or captured, and Bad Batch are probably
right.
Is she?
Didn't she get taken at the end of the first episode? At the end of the Zillow episode?
I can't remember. I thought she didn't. I thought they just said that they were gonna that she was like important. That because like the Kaminoan, I can't remember what his name was. He was talking to the like weird doctor dude that they introduced. The like creepy dude. And he was like, "What is the best way to get to?" Oh gosh, what's the other Kaminoan's name? The one that they have like
Nala
in the prison. Nala.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, "What's the best way to get to her? Because we need her." And
that's right.
And he was like, the girl or something, or like Omega. I don't remember if he name dropped her or not, but like he was like, she's the key to get to her. So
that's right.
Yeah,
I don't know why in my mind she was already there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So I'm assuming she's gonna get captured, and they're probably gonna have to use this thief to like break in or something like that. Like I think that would be like a really cool way to like tie into those episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really enjoyed those episodes, and then last week's Perfection.
So good.
So I'm a huge fan of the Republic Commando game. I like grew up playing that game. I thought the Commandos were like just the coolest clone characters. And so it was cool when they like brought them back in Clone Wars. And then it was really interesting when they brought them back in Bad Batch season 1 for like a short amount of time. And Scorch, like the guy, like the commando leading them in this episode, is one of the main characters. He's one of the supporting characters.
That's awesome.
in the game. And so it was really cool because in Clone Wars they introduced the squad from the game. Oh, my camera just went out.
You just disappeared.
I have no clue. I'm
you
really
just disappeared
confused.
into Tatooine.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but it's not turning back on. It says it's on right now, but sorry, I put on Frodo's ring. I put on the one ring, dude.
That's what it looked like, dude.
Yeah. We're just gonna have to go with this for now, I guess.
That's all good, dude. So funny.
Yeah, so Scorched, like they name dropped him in the credits, so it's actually him. It's really crazy seeing how he's working for the Empire, and it makes me sad because
dude,
like he's a great character in the game, but so yeah, I love that episode, bringing back the Commandos, super awesome stuff. And then the Zillow beef, like I loved how just creepy that episode was. Like it felt like a horror movie in the way that they shot it, and just like how intense it was. And it was also like I'm gonna keep mentioning the Republic Commando game. It was also reminiscent of a mission in the game where you're sent to a ghost ship, it's a Venator, and like the crew just went missing on it, and like it's just been drifting through space, and so you like go and like check it out, and Trandoshans like took over the ship. And so it reminded me a lot of that, because that kind of had like a similar feeling to it. So I'm sure that was very intentional. So that was just like a really neat kind of little Easter egg. But yeah, I'm really curious what they're doing with this facility, like with all this like weird clone stuff that they're doing, and obviously like it's probably gonna tie into Rise of the Skywalker. I feel like that's kind of where they're going with it, and I'm cool with that because it'll hopefully make it just a little bit better. A little bit more bearable.
Yes.
But yeah, so I really like just this mystery that they're like kind of building up that they teased in the first season, and just every like other episode or like every few episodes, it seems like they're kind of just giving you a little bit more to like figuring out what's the secret plan that they're working on. And I really like that underlying story that they have building up in the background. So yeah, that was my binge watch. I had an absolute blast with it.
So fun, dude.
Yeah,
I think this season for me, it has a unique feel apart from last season, right? I think this season, I think last season we focused a lot more on, we saw a bunch of different worlds and we're still seeing this definitely in this season, but I think there was a lot more focus on, like, you had that one episode, like right after the first episode, I think this was the second one, called Cut and Run, where we saw Cut and Sue and that family. And we saw already how the Empire was starting to take over with the chain codes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And making it hard on just people to live their lives. And and then we saw the one with the Rancor, where they saved, I can't remember what, Moochie, is that what they named the Rancor? Moochie?
Something like that.
Where with the Empire in charge, slavery was much easier to get away with again. So like slavery was back up and like with no consequences, essentially. And in fact, it was basically encouraged again. And so we saw that on that planet. And then we saw, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the planet. There's a couple of episodes after the mid-season big banger episodes. There was that one with the senator who refused to comply with the Empire. And or I thought that one was really cool. And seeing the effects that the Empire had on that place because of that. And then also seeing the Syndulla family in with those two episodes. And what is their home world called again?
Ryloth.
Ryloth. I love those Ryloth episodes, man. Those were so good. But just we went to a lot of places and saw the Empire taking over and the effect it had on them. But I feel like this season has been a little more personal with the batch. Like I feel like a lot more of it is focused on the characters themselves. And then yes, we have like the Kashyyyk episode with Gunji, which was great. And then we had we have the big episodes with the politics and stuff like that. But even that feels kind of character driven on a lot of levels. And I just think this season feels a little bit more intimate and a little bit more like experimental. Like I did not, what in the world, that giant Zeppo thing, whatever it's called, Zepho, I guess. That episode felt like Indiana Jones for the first 2/3 of it. And then the last part of it was like, what is this? What is this show? And then, this episode or the last episode, we have I watched this show. Sorry, quick change of subject.
Okay.
I was watching another Star Wars podcast, and one of the callers called in and was like, go with me on this theory. And I hated it at first, but then I thought, I think he's onto something. So he said, Rey is part Zillo Beast. And if you follow the chain, because Rey came from a clone of Palpatine, but basically Palpatine's clone son, right?
Yeah.
And if Palpatine coming back came from those these cloning experiments, there's a possibility that Rey has some Zillo Beast qualities because they're using the Zillo Beast to experiment with cloning.
Dude, does that mean she's also part Grogu?
I think so.
Oh man, her DNA must look crazy, dude.
I know, dude. It's so funny to when he said that at first, I was like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever." Wait. So man. I don't know, just fun. That had me dying laughing, but also like, oh my gosh, I think that's actually true. But let's talk about this last episode, bro. Like, okay, I talked about how this season has felt more personal, especially with the Crosshair episodes. It's the character work they've done with him in so few episodes is so impressive to me, and it all feels earned. And I just feel like the Crosshair episodes are like, they have this tone about them and this slower pace, and it just works for me on every level. They're darker and really just, I think it's their best storytelling. I think he's the best character on this show and the most interesting character on this show for sure. But I tweeted that. Have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yeah.
I tweeted. I don't know if you saw this, but I tweeted yesterday when I watched this. I think the story is different, but this episode was the Zuko alone of the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
If any of you listening are familiar with the Zuko alone episode, it's just this episode that Zuko's character is really fleshed out through flashbacks, but really just through this experience he has with this family. We really see different sides of Zuko that we haven't seen. And then obviously story-wise it's different because Zuko doesn't turn at that point, and all that, but it's just this isolated, really really emotional and character-driven episode where he's all alone. And with this episode, Crosshair wasn't alone, but he was just with this other guy. And through his experiences with this other clone, he was extremely affected by that. And it really moved his story along a lot too. And I felt like the intimacy of this episode, it really felt like the Zuko alone of this show. And I love this. I love the snow setting, the blizzard. I love that. I love that whole thing. Just the way it feels, the atmosphere of the episode. They made me hate that stupid that stupid Imperial officer immediately. Immediately, I didn't even have to hear a word he said. I hated him.
Oh yeah,
and
just looking at him, I was like, that he's got a punchable face.
Oh my gosh, yes. Super punchable face, even more than Rampart. And I think also like that stupid helmet thing he wears, he looks like an idiot. I hated him so much. And you know what they did a great job designing his character because he looked like someone who wasn't qualified. He looked like someone who did not deserve respect, and he acted like it too. And but I loved Mayday. I love what this show has done with these clones. Somehow they make so many, like, these clones are such different characters. I love like Hauser last season. By the way, I hope we see Hauser again this season. I'm scared that we're not going to, and I really want to. But like I want to see his story continued. I hope he's not dead already. But But Hauser's an example. I love seeing him. What was the other one last season? We got near the end. That was in the Clone Wars.
Is it Wolf?
What?
Was it Wolf?
It was Gregor. It was Gregor.
Oh, Gregor.
You said
yes,
Wolf.
Yes.
I went to Gregor because you said Wolf. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was Gregor. Like such a different character than Hauser, who is a different character than Mayday. I love like the interactions with Mayday when Crosshair was like, glad to see you're confident in your work. And he was like, oh, I am confident. I'm just not stupid. I love that. It was so great. And super cool beard too.
Oh yeah.
But I loved the bond that they formed so quickly. And this episode really, and I thought it might happen, but I was still shocked when he actually shot the Imperial officer at the end. Yeah. That beautiful shot. I think that whole end with the vulture flying above was super symbolic. It was just like he felt like the other clones were feeling, which is basically your time is up. It's just a matter of time and you're useless. And that episode, or that Imperial officer was saying, literally, he was saying to his face, he's expendable and you're expendable too. And so all of those things came together in this beautiful character episode. And then in the end, it was super satisfying. And now like Crosshair is at Tantus, Mount Tantus. And it's super, dude, what an episode. I think this might have been my favorite episode of the show ever. Yeah, there's a couple that could be fighting for it, but what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I think it's definitely probably my favorite as well. Obviously, I don't want to just speak from recency bias, but it's genuinely incredible.
Well, it's sorry to interrupt you. It's different. Like last season we had that great episode with Fennec Shand coming in and also oh man, my brain is just done for the day. What the awesome cowboy bounty hunter guy, Cad Bane. We had that great episode where both of them were in it, and it was at this like cloning facility on another planet. It was really cool. It was pretty much a banger episode, but it was when that episode's over, you're like, man, that was awesome. But when time gets away, as time passes, you're like, that episode was super cool, but it's really not like as substantial as some other episodes. Whereas this one really wasn't a whole lot of flair to it. It was just two guys, right? And like even to the point where when they were like huddling together to keep warm, that was so like I almost cried. Seeing Crosshair doing this and seeing him go back and like try to save Mayday's life, that was super touching. Like I really did almost cry there. Which is not far-fetched for me, but anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but I think this episode was just really substantial and easy to say this one's going to age well, No,
I definitely agree. Like this one's going to have a lasting appeal to it. And like, I don't know, there's just sometimes where like I see something and I know it's special. And that's how I feel about this episode. But yeah, I love the episodes that just kind of feel calm and quiet and take its time to just breathe. And like, it's not at a super fast pace. It just feels so much more cinematic and the story feels much more substantial. And it really lets like the emotional moments shine. I honestly like I'll be completely honest too. When he went to go save the clone, when he went to go save Mayday, that made me want to tear up too, which I wasn't expecting from Bad Batch. Surprisingly, like not that like I didn't think it could happen, but I'm like, wow, like because this is something that I expect from like Andor or something like that. But I'm like, wow, I like this made me feel like some real emotions here. So I love that about this episode. And again, like it's another episode where they're kind of building and teasing towards this underlying story that they've got going on. I love how it's setting the stage for the clone troopers. I love what they're doing with the clones this season. It feels very like realistic in many ways to real life like veterans and how they kind of just get tossed to the side when they get out of the military. So I really appreciate how they're kind of, you know, bringing in elements of reality to it, and it just makes it that much more personal. I love this episode, and then also the Kiners soundtrack again, incredible this episode. Every single episode, I'm just like continuously getting impressed with their work, and it's just like they keep finding new ways to reinvent Star Wars music. It feels like Star Wars, but it also feels different, and like each episode kind of has something unique to the soundtrack that fits the tone and the setting of the episode. So like anytime you hear those like synths in the episode, like you know that it's gonna be super serious. Like it's got like this almost like Blade Runner kind of feel to it if you've ever listened to the soundtracks or watched the movies.
Absolutely.
But it fits so well, and man, I don't know. I could keep going on and on about it.
Well, they've done that a lot with this show, but they started doing that a lot with the Clone Wars season 7. Especially the episode. So the last arc they had the episode where we had, it's one of my favorite Clone Wars episodes ever, where it starts off where Obi-Wan is in a battle and Anakin comes in and is like, makes a distraction and is like is a decoy or whatever, and then the 501st comes in and just wrecks shop. It's great. So that episode is really cool and really emotional, really great episode. And then the next one is the Maul, the one where I think that's the one that it is, right? Yeah, the Phantom Apprentice, I think is what it's called, the one where she actually fights Maul. And so, which is incredible. And then it's the episode after that, the one with Order 66, where Order 66 happens. It's like really foreboding music that you just know something bad is about to happen, but it just, you can't put your finger on it. That episode really started introducing this like synthy, really dark synthy sound to Star Wars, and more than it's ever had. I know like Mando really had a lot of synth in it too before that, but then that and the finale of the Clone Wars both were just super synth heavy and in the darkest, most serious moments. And the Bad Batch, when the score is at its best, I think is when it's doing that just atmospheric Blade Runner type stuff. I love it so much. But then the music really, the way the music swelled when in that moment where Crosshair was when Mayday did die, and Crosshair was like, he was really going through it right there, and you could tell he was contemplating killing that Imperial. And the music right there, where like, this is the character turning back, right? This is the return of the Crosshair that we love. the music was so powerful right there. It was so powerful right there. The Kiners deserve not that the animated stuff, the animated stuff is just as legitimate as the live action stuff. But I would love to see a movie with them scoring.
Yes,
I want
please.
like a theatrical movie with the Kiners scoring.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has earned it as much as they have at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I love what Michael Giacchino was able to do on short notice in Rogue One was astounding. But it's not like the best thing ever, right?
No.
For good reason. But I will forever sing his praises for he did that in like 30 days. And it's insane. But I mean, Ludwig Göransson could do it, but he's got a very specific sound, right? And it works perfectly for Mando. Doesn't necessarily, I don't see him necessarily working perfectly well with a big Star Wars story, right? I don't know, man. I think to me, John Powell's score for Solo was wonderful, but I think the Kiners have earned a movie at this point. They really have, man.
I think it's also because of how like versatile their music is. Like it's not just that atmospheric synthy kind of stuff. They've also done stuff that sounds John Williams-esque, and they've also done other like weird stuff like that. Yeah,
and then they like basically do their own rendition of John Williams stuff, like the Clone Wars theme, right? It's like just slightly different.
So good.
But yeah, they've been doing that. They've been doing, like you said, that's well said. They've been doing different like synthy stuff for a while, but they've also been doing stuff that just sounds like what you feel like Star Wars sounds like, right? But what I love is that yes, it does sound like that, but they have brought their own, there's a modern flair to it, which is great. Star Wars needs that to push it forward, right? And so but it still feels like you can still feel the roots of Star Wars in it. I think they would be excellent candidates for whatever movie happens next. If it happens ever. So
gosh.
But man, any last we need to probably get off of here. Any last thoughts on the Bad Batch, Mando, anything?
I guess just one other side note about Mando. They seem to be going really hard on big monsters this season.
That right?
and even Bad Batch too.
I know.
Like so I don't know. Like I feel like there's a reason why they're doing that. I don't know what it is, but I'm all for it. I'm like, if there's a big monster in every episode of Mando this season, give it to me because it's cool.
Dude, that like giant alligator thing was awesome.
Yeah.
Like what a cool monster.
Yeah.
I think the Mandalorian does do monsters really well. Monsters and creatures really, really well. The Book of Boba Fett had that one really weird one that came up out of the sand. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
It was kind of cool, but also kind of weird, like in not a great way, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like just other shows, when they do the monster thing, sometimes it doesn't work quite as well, but like, I don't know, something about Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and all the people over there in charge of this stuff that they just know, not only do they know how to make it a great like design, but just how to make it also that design, make it look good too. Like, and just the scale of whether it's the crate dragon last season or this alligator thing or the mythosaur, the way they're able to do that in this television show is astounding. It's really great. It does. The effects this season are insane. Like I'm looking for the seams, right? I'm looking for like, oh, there's the volume. I don't know if I've seen it yet. Honestly, in this show, I don't know. Maybe on Navarro at one point, I might have felt it a little bit, but I don't notice it. And I don't even think it's bad if you notice it every now and then. It's not a bad thing to notice special effects, right? Yeah. But I just think that this show, even if you notice it, gosh, it just looks so good.
Yeah.
And not only that, all of the like stop motion stuff that they're doing, what they did with IG-11 crawling around on the floor was horrifying.
Yeah.
And awesome. Like all of these throwback things that they're mixing with this modern technology, it all works so well together. And then the Zellans,
yeah. I really hope we see them again.
I do too, man. I don't know if they're going to come into play because, I mean, I feel like they might, but I mean, the whole point of getting IG-11 back was so that he could test out Mandalore, right? Well, R5 did that, and so, I don't know, is that even necessary anymore? Are we going to get IG-11 again? I don't know.
True.
I kind of hope. I would love to see him again. I love him, but I also think let his death be his death.
Yeah.
But that's just my principle. That's my philosophy with everything. Let the dead person stay dead, please. But dude, thanks for coming on, man. This was a blast. I'm glad we got to talk. I feel like you and I have been talking a lot during these episodes, so it's been good to actually get to talk about it on a live stream. Yeah, so we'll have you back on again at some point, maybe this season, and we'll talk about whether it's the end of the Bad Batch or end of Mando or something. We'll talk again.
Definitely.
But anything you want to promote while you're on here?
Promote this podcast.
Hey. The podcast is like not really going right now.
Not right now. I haven't been working on anything lately, honestly, except for school.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. Yeah, man, I get it. You're not no movie review things right now?
Not right now. Gotcha. I do want to get back to writing some reviews. I just haven't had a lot of time to.
But you got a letterbox though.
I do have a letterbox.
Follow Drew Tavares on Letterboxd. You won't regret it.
Exactly.
All right, guys. I know we don't really have anyone in the live stream anymore because it's late at night. But thank y'all so much for joining us for when you did. It's been really fun. And for those of you listening to the podcast, when it's up on the podcast feed, thank you so much for listening all the way through. If you've made it this far, we are just doing these episodes when we can. We're not doing weekly episodes at this point. We're still just kind of, life is busy, man. You've heard it with all of us. It's just kind of crazy right now. Right now for me, I just can't do it on a weekly basis, but really appreciate y'all joining us whenever we do get together. Really means a lot. It's really fun to get back and just talk Star Wars with friends. So with that being said, we're going to get off of here. Thank you all so much for joining us. And until next time, may the Force be with you always.